gist, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Dramatist, playwright, and icon of Yoruba thematic arts, Duro Ladipo was born December 18, 1931 in Osogbo, southwest Nigeria. His clergyman father christened him Timothy. His other names, Duro Dola, Duro Shomo, Duro Rike, reflected his persona and the circumstances that surrounded his birth. The legendary stage actor had in several public fora identified himself as one of the greatest abikus born to die in this world. Family records reveal how he was born and died 13 times. The intertwining names he bore thus lent credence to his spiritism. Duro Ladipo was one of the best known and world-acclaimed Yoruba dramatists to emerge from post-colonial Africa. His notable works Obakoso, Obawaja and Moremi took him beyond Africa to several parts of the world. By the time Duro Ladipo died on 11 March 1978, the Nigeria's first cultural ambassador had acquired a towering image as an artist whose works adorned the frontage of Trenchard Hall, University of Ibadan. Western Spring Television identifies Duro Ladipo as a major character in history.
Here are 5 amazing fun facts I bet you never knew about Christianity.
Number 1, there are over 2.4 billion Christians worldwide.
Amazing fun fact number 2. The Bible is one of the best-selling books of all time, with more than 100 million copies sold every year.
Most Christians believe in heaven and hell.
The Bible is the most translated book in the world, with more than 3,000 languages.
Amazing fun fact number 5. Most Christians throw science out of the window without realizing that most scientists are Christians. Hello, I am Pastor Steve Akinwumi.
And I am Dr. Adeoye Oyewole.
Join us as we highlight and discuss day-to-day issues pertaining to the day-to-day living of every Christian.
Issues in Christendom shows every Sunday on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
The Korean War of 1950 to 1953 pitched North and South Korea against each other in response to intrigues by nations beyond their border, with different interests from those canvassed by the two brother nations. The Korean War had all the nuances of an external conflict induced by powers that were interested in subjugating North and South Korea. Japan had leveraged on its military power to annex Korea in 1900 and imposed a military union that did not sit well with the citizens. Japan not only lost its war of conquest against Korea, all its powers were obliterated by the effect of the World War II. The end of World War II got Korea divided into two nations along 38 parallel lines by the instrumentality of the United States of America and the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. The Korean War lapsed into a Cold War when it stopped the prying eyes of external forces into the internal affairs of a nation now divided along its north and southern territories. Western Spring Television identifies the Korean War as a major event in history. It was a Euro-American trade in slaves by which 12.5 million Africans were captured from their indigenous homelands and transported via the Atlantic to Europe and the Americas. The transatlantic slave, also known as triangular trade, was the worst form of man's inhumanity to man and the most costly in human life of all long-distance global migrations. Hundreds of Africans chained tightly to plank beds in the belly of slave ships in horrific conditions were transported via the Atlantic and stripped of all human dignity on arrival in Europe and America. It is the greatest crime the Caucasians committed against the black race. It is impossible to discuss the transatlantic slave trade without a copious reference to impoverishment and underdevelopment of Africa and its peoples. The triangular trade left the continent in ruins. Western Spring Television identifies transatlantic slave trade as a watershed event in history.
Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West, and Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girls got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations. Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be showing on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on StarTimes.
Evelyn Ohiole,
Hi.
King Eve. How are you today?
I'm good, I'm fine, I'm alive.
I really feel like she's not giving the right answer to the question. When one asks you, how are you? And you said, you're saying, I'm alive. It's very annoying, seriously. How are you? I'm fine. I feel I'm fine will be the right answer instead of I'm alive. Not that I asked you if you're dead before.
Go and check all these 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, everybody, they are extraordinarily sexually active.
I feel is being unnecessarily hyper when it comes to the issue of sex, because we talk about other topics and it feels so reserved. It really doesn't have anything much to say when it comes to other stuff. But when it's the issue of sex, I believe it's being unnecessarily hyper. That's when I have to pick an issue with him. I mean, it's just being unnecessarily there when we're talking about sex. Just like a child, his mom just got him his favorite chocolate or ice cream, very happy, doing as though if he doesn't have sex for a day, he's going to die.
When it comes to finance, women also support their husbands financially. You need me emotionally. You need me spiritually.
Cassie is an amazing person, but I hate the too much attached to that gender. I need you spiritually, I need you mentally. I can get these things anywhere with money. If you go by the topic was, who does marriage favors the most? I know how many jobless women they marry every Saturday. They are saying it favors you, favor. Are they vex so?
Growing up, when I was in the world, we've heard of
Yeah, you know.
Well, MC Too Much said, he likes saying when I was in the world. And the last time I checked, well, it looks a bit innocent initially, but deep down, she's actually out of this world. We're all in the world now. As long as you're alive, you're in the world. So, too much I beg when you talk about that. I don't want to hear that. Next time you talk about I kiss my words.
I think I have a problem with you saying ladies are champion, and that's the problem. Always trying to attach too much importance to that gender.
It's giving insecurity, it's giving low self-esteem, it's giving a blatant display of egoism. Because at the end of the day, a man who is secured in his words, a man who is confident of who he is, will not really be disturbed as to whether women are being referred to as champions or not. I mean, at the end of the day, Joseph's a really great guy, but whether he likes it or not, women are champions.
Bẹ́gùn bá jáde, mọ̀rìnwó la kọ́kọ́ rí, ọwọ́ gẹ́gẹ́ ní síwájú ìjó, ẹsẹ̀ katakata ní síwájú rìn, bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti ń gbúròó wa, a tún ti dé náà nù, ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò Owambe Unlimited, pẹ̀lú èmi ọmọ yín, olólùfẹ́ yín, ọ̀rẹ́ yín, Suliat tẹ́túmọ̀ sí Mọ́rẹ́níkejì, ẹ lè pè mí ní Sùsù, tó bá wẹ̀ lómi, a sọ pé ìyálòde àríyá, gbogbo orúkọ tẹ́ ẹ bá pè mí, kò sí èyí tí mi ò ní jẹ yín, ẹ farabalẹ̀, kẹ́ ẹ máa gbádùn ètò Owambe Unlimited lórí ìkànnì Western Spring Television ní ìkànnì 190, ibẹ̀ ni Owambe Unlimited ń bọ̀ wá, ẹ fàpùrẹ̀ tẹ̀dí, kẹ́ ẹ máa gbádùn ètò àríyá wa.
Wọ́n sọ fún yín pé ẹ máa wo Owambe Unlimited lórí Western Spring Television.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
New York nílùú ńlá tó tóbi jù nílẹ̀ Amẹ́ríkà. Kódà iye ènìyàn tó wà níbẹ̀ ló fi ìdá méjì ju ti ìlú Los Angeles lọ. Ó jẹ́ ibùdó fún oríṣiríṣi àṣà, ìgbafẹ́, iṣẹ́ ọnà, ìmọ̀ ẹ̀rọ, òṣèlú, ẹ̀kọ́, ọrọ̀ ajé kódà tó fi máa rẹ́ ìdárayá. New York yìí ló gbàlejò ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ olùdókòwò kárí ayé tó sì fẹsẹ̀ múlẹ̀ gidi gan ni. Ìdí nìyí tí àwọn kan fi máa ń pè é ní olú ìlú orílẹ̀-èdè àgbáyé. Ohun ìdámọ̀ tó gbajúgbajà jù ní New York ní ère òmìnira Statue of Liberty. Eléyìí tó ń ṣàfihàn bí ìlú náà ṣe fàyè gba onílé àtàlejò. Bẹ́ẹ̀ sì ni afárá Brooklyn kò lẹ́gbẹ́. Ó kéré tán ẹgbẹ̀rin ní oríṣi èdè tí wọ́n ń sọ ní New York. Èyí ló sì fa bí wọ́n ṣe máa ń sọ pé gbogbo èdè àgbáyé ló pé sílùú New York. Ní nǹkan ọdún 1624 ni àwọn èèyàn ẹ̀yà Dutch tẹ̀dó sí ibi tó ń jẹ́ New York báyìí. Amsterdam ni wọ́n ń pè é tẹ́lẹ̀ nígbà náà, àmọ́ lọ́dún 1664 ni wọ́n yí padà sí New York lẹ́yìn tí ọba King Charles kejì ti ilẹ̀ Gẹ̀ẹ́sì fún arákùnrin rẹ̀ ní ilẹ̀ ìyẹn Duke of York. Láti ọdún 1785 ló ti wá di olú ìlú ilẹ̀ Amẹ́ríkà títí di òní olónìí. Ó jẹ́ ìlú ńlá tó kún fún ọ̀pọ̀ iṣẹ́ ọnà àti ibùdó iṣẹ́ àtinúdá oríṣiríṣi fún gbogbo ìran ọmọnìyàn. Ìlú New York lórílẹ̀-èdè Amẹ́ríkà.
Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nǹkan ló ń kojú àwọn ará àdúgbò, àwọn ará àwùjọ tí ohun ò dẹ̀ dókè. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìnira, ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìyà làwọn èèyàn ń kojú rẹ̀ ní àdúgbò. Ojú ọ̀nà tó kù díẹ̀ káàtó, iná ọba tó mẹ́ẹ̀ tó ń ṣe ségesège, àwọn tó ń hu ìwà àbàṣejẹ́ òbí tí ń sun lẹ́rùn, àti àwọn nǹkan tí ò tí ì dé tí gbọ́ ìjọba. Ṣé wọ́n ní etí ọba nílé etí ọba lóko, èèyàn náà ló ń jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀. Òun náà ló jẹ́ kí ìkànnì Western Spring Television pé ètò tí ó jẹ́ kẹ́yìn ara lé ẹ̀yin ará àwùjọ kẹ́lẹ́ mọ́ sọ bí.
Western Spring Television, ours it is.
Yes, good afternoon, viewers at home. You're welcome to your darling program, Spring Clinic, on the stable of Western Spring Television, Oshogbo. You can watch us on channels 190 start time, and you can also follow us on our social media handles at Western Spring Television. The Spring Clinic is a platform where we discuss several issues that pertain to healthcare delivery from the perspectives of the doctors, the nurses, the patients, and even the caregivers. It gives us an opportunity to be able to explore various issues that can help us to keep healthy. And this afternoon, I will be discussing the role of nurses in healthcare. I'm your regular anchor, Dr. ADEOYE Oyewole. I have the privilege of having to discuss this afternoon this particular topic with Mrs. OLAJUMOKE OPALEYE. Is a public health nursing officer at the State Hospital, Ede. Madam, you are welcome to this program.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, viewers at home.
Yeah, so it's a privilege to speak to a Nightingale lady. I want to start on this note. Maybe the practice is thinning out. In those days, I think nurses and doctors end up marrying each other. Is this still the same or... I'm just wondering whether the practice is still there or is not as it used to be, and then what's responsible for that, for whatever position you think. Just your opinion.
Okay, that's a good way to start. Well, I want to say it's still happening.
Okay.
We have professionals marrying each other. We have doctors marrying nurses. We have nurses marrying nurses.
Okay.
So it's still happening.
I think it's because of the proximity where they work, isn't it?
Yes, because you are always together. You spend your time together. So, and it is where you live that you fall in love and you get someone you love. Absolutely. So it's still happening.
Okay, so thank you so much for that.
Thank you, sir.
Medical practice or healthcare generally, we keep hearing doctors. And I think it may not be unconnected with our culture, the patriarchal nature of our society. Because if you look at the family too, they say women are the head of the family. Mm-hmm. Incidentally, we also know too that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. And this is where I think nurses come in. Nurses are very unique professional in the healthcare industry. They play a very strong role in ensuring that patients are well taken care of. Madam, what do you think is this peculiar role that takes nursing away from other professionals and makes it unique, in your own opinion?
Thank you, sir. Well, nursing is a unique profession, like you said, and all over the world. Statistics have even shown that nurses occupy 50% of all the workers in healthcare. So you can imagine if nurses are taking 50% of healthcare workers.
That means including the doctors, laboratory technologists,
the physiotherapists, everybody in healthcare.
That means you guys take about 50%,
about half of all healthcare workers.
Why is it like that?
Because there's nothing you will do in healthcare industry without nurses. Nurses owns the patient. We spend our time with the patient. You are always there 24/7. Nurses we do in bedside nursing. There is this practice of running shift. If you are on morning duty, you render your care to your patient and then you hand over to another nurse to continue the care. And that is what we say nursing is a continuous process. We believe in continuity of care. A doctor, for instance, can come to clerk a patient in the morning and you will not see them again. But a nurse will always be there every step of the way. Right from when a child is conceived in the womb, it is a nurse that takes care of the pregnancy, that sees to vaccination of the child, that sees to taking care of that even till the person dies. Right. So a nurse will always be present at every stage of individual's life.
Anyway, that's a very good one. Madam has told us that the nurse, they are always there. The doctors are always there too. Maybe we just recede back into our offices after writing one or two things that we think should be done. But I'm just wondering, what do you think is responsible for a good number of some form of conflict that occurs between nurses and doctors? Because, I mean, if we are involved, the patient is our goal. The doctors have their roles. Yes. The nurses also have their roles. In your own opinion, what do you think is responsible for a good number of conflicts that we have between the nurses and the doctors?
Well, I think the problem stems from the challenge with job description. Okay. And knowing your limits. There are things that you are taught to do in school as a nurse. Now, even a doctor can do it. Okay. But there are duties that are peculiar to nurses. Mm-hmm. There are duties that are peculiar to doctors. Yeah. But then, because our focus is always the patient, you cannot work in isolation. You cannot say, because you are the nurse that is always present, the patient belongs to you. Mm. The doctors cannot do it alone too. And so, because we need to work hand in hand, and then we sometimes delve into each other's roles.
Maybe communication problems.
Yes. Ego is there too. Egocentrism is there.
Or at times, because of women, let's look at in marriage. Oftentimes, the women, they're very caring, isn't it? Yes. They take care of us. Yes. In fact, our wives tell us they own us. At times.
Yes,
my wife tells me, yes, we own you, we own the house, we own the kitchen. Yet the doctor is supposed to be the head of the unit. Yes. Just like the doctor is also the head of the medical profession. Yes. I think the ability to be able to manage that relationship, like you talked about ego, results into a lot of conflicts. Otherwise, the patient is our goal altogether.
Yes, yes.
Because you made mention of something that we doctors at times want to quarrel with patients and nurses about. You said you own the patient. Yes, I think you own the patient, maybe you could correct me, in the context of care.
Yes.
Giving the patient the best. For instance, if anything now goes wrong with the patient, legally speaking, the doctor is head responsible.
That is how it should be. But it is the information that a nurse gives to a doctor that they work with.
Yes.
Because you are the one that will know if the treatment, the prescription of the doctor is working
or not.
You are the one that will know if there's a negative reaction. It is the nurse that will know if there's any improvement at all.
Or not.
It is the nurse that will think this line of care should be changed because we are not getting the expected outcome. And so, whoever owns the patient, that is my belief. Anyway,
maybe we own the patient.
Together. Because I don't believe in all this rivalry and
but you see, it's part of it. But what do you think is responsible for it? Communication problems?
Communication problem.
Okay.
Management too. The management of the hospital contributes to it.
At times,
yes, at times. Because in other climes, we have seen nurses that are consultants in their fields.
Okay.
The same way we have specialty in medicine, we have specialty in nursing too. And we have seen nurses that rose to the stage of being a consultant in their field.
In nursing practice.
In nursing practice. Yeah. Which is not obtainable in Nigeria yet. And
but so, I'm imagining that even if it's obtainable, it will still be nursing care.
Yes.
Not medical practice.
There are some things that doctors can do that nurses are allowed to do.
Absolutely.
Like prescription of drugs.
Okay.
There are nurses that prescribe if you're a consultant in your field.
Okay.
In other countries, I'm not talking, that is not practicable
here.
In Nigeria
yet.
Yes,
for now, yes.
But so many things. The marriage too, you know, the intermarriage that we were talking about initially.
Also
when you are a nurse and your husband is a doctor, and a nurse has an issue with a doctor that is your husband, you will want to defend your husband against your colleague that is a nurse.
Or you could also have seen finish. You must have seen the doctor finish at home.
Too,
and then you also come and say, I don't have a doctor at home like you. Why are you misbehaving like that?
That is also part
of it. But I see some people, but I don't know whether you believe this, patient relatives, when they come to the hospital, who do you think they fear most? You know, I mean, I don't pray any of us have patients in the hospital. Hospital is one place everybody is scared of if you are not working there.
Yes.
And when they need to, you know, stay there for care, who do you think they fear most? Is it doctors or nurses?
I'm not sure of the fear.
The question I'm saying is this. You know, people need not just respect. People at times want to be talked to.
Yes.
People want somebody who will allay their fears.
Yes.
People also want to talk to someone, or at times when they want to enter the world. There's this
fear.
Yeah.
These nurses.
I think nurses.
Yes.
Why do you think it's nurses that they fear more than the doctors?
Yes, there is this belief that nurses are wicked. They shout on patients. They insult patients. In fact, what we've discovered is anybody that works in the hospital, even if you are not a nurse, and you do something against the patient, the nurse is always blamed for it.
Why do you think it's like that?
Because relatives, patients, they don't know better. They don't know who is a nurse or not. Even if it's an attendant in the hospital, they call the person a nurse.
Yeah, but oftentimes the attendants are your people.
Yes.
So they want to say that it's the nurses that have coached them that way.
Even the gate men too.
They're not the gate men, but I think in the wards, most often times they're always afraid of nurses. Could it be that when I was growing up, we had family friends, all these old Nightingale nurses, very professional.
No nonsense bosses.
Yes, a good number of them were very, authoritative, but very professional.
Yes.
And oftentimes, people defer to them. Could it be that nowadays we are having younger persons coming to the nursing profession who never wanted to do nursing?
A lot, sir. A lot.
Could that be contributing to a bit of some of transfer of aggression and all of that we're experiencing with nurses?
Yeah, well, the transfer of aggression, I would say a lot of factors are responsible.
Okay.
Why? That it is not peculiar to nursing. It's about the person, the personality of the person offering care. It is not because you are a nurse that you have to be rude.
And maybe the challenge of nursing.
Another thing is the challenge that comes with rendering nursing care.
Nursing care, yes.
The job, the load of work that nurses do. There's no hospital that you will get to, whether in Osun State or outside, that people are not complaining of shortage of staff.
Absolutely.
It's everywhere. Now, imagine if you are the only one on duty and you have to take care of 20, 25 patients. And what we are trying to do is to give holistic care. There is no way you'll be able to offer holistic care to 25 patients under your care alone.
Especially if you have, there was a time recently, sorry to cut you short, I was in one of our wards, surgical wards, and it was a day after theater. And there were about 8 cases that they had done. And I saw this young woman, lovely woman, who he was trying to attend to, about 8 or 9, and all of them were calling.
At the same time.
Hey, sister, please, we have the sister. My patient is dying. My sister is bleeding. My patient. I can just imagine.
Yes.
So I think the demand,
the workload,
the workload,
the frustration. You know, when you tell one of, like the situation you gave now, she would have told some of them, please hold on, I'm coming. But nobody wants to hold on. They want to be attended
especially
to at the same
a day
time.
after surgery.
Yes.
And that somebody is saying, I'm in pains. These nurses are wicked, though.
Exactly.
And you know, the doctors are not there. It's the nurses they see.
Yes.
Isn't it? Of course, occasionally house officers will come.
Of course.
Yeah. So we're looking at the workload, isn't it? Then I think there's personality.
The personality.
Some people are not patient enough.
Yes.
Their kind of person is not configured for that profession. What are you as senior nurses and trainers doing about that? Any some form of psychometrics in the admission?
Okay, well, the admission that we are even now having for nursing now has moved from the era of coming to write entrance exam into School of Nursing. Any admission now is going to be through JAM.
Wow, okay.
Yes, because now schools of nursing, yes, the Nursing and Midwifery Council has released a circular that all schools of nursing needs to be assimilated into the university now. So any admission had to be through JAM now.
Wow.
So, you know, there's always this preference with nurses having the benefit, the opportunity of finishing from school, write the exam, and just leave the country. The benefit is that. So that is why we have a surge in the number of young nurses. The interest about rendering nursing care is actually not there for everyone.
But it's very lucrative.
Yes.
Even when people want to marry from abroad, they ask him, please, some of those young ladies. So a lot of young ladies. But so let's look at this. What do you think, your own opinion in terms of the quality of training between our BSc nurses and our old School of Nursing? What do you think?
Okay, so
what's your comment?
I should be able to speak on this because I've been through both systems. Yes. I finished from School of Nursing Osogbo.
That's good.
I had my degree from OAU.
That's fine.
I want to say, in my opinion,
yes, ma'am.
Any nurse that passes through School of Nursing
of those days, because it's becoming those days now.
Yes, I like that. Of those days, will be very good in clinical aspects.
Why?
The discipline is there, the training, the drilling, the clinical postings that we go to. You will have to pass through all the units in the hospital, from medical to surgical to gynae.
But they do that even now with the BSc nurses.
They do that, but the theoretical aspect of it is more than the clinical aspect.
Don't you think the theoretical aspect is an improvement?
It is, sir.
Don't you see it's an asset?
You know, in nursing practice, there's a difference between passing a theoretical exam and clinical exam. It is your knowledge of the clinical practice that qualifies you as a nurse.
Apparently. But don't you think that with the BSc nursing curriculum, that has beefed up your theoretical basis? Because I interact with a good number of your students, BSc nurses, and I see that they are at par with our medical students, even in the preclinical days. You understand the anatomy, the physiology. They are more empowered and knowledgeable. Don't you think that is going to reduce a bit of the conflict?
It will.
Why?
It will reduce a bit because now, in fact, we get admission at the same time, 100 level, 200 level. We are together at the same class. So it shows that you choose to be a doctor, I choose to be a nurse.
And then we have almost the same kind of some form of basic knowledge. You know? So it could be something better than just clinical, but you don't have the theoretical basis.
It actually widens your scope of practice.
Absolutely.
Your theoretical knowledge too. And then it gives you an evidence for your clinical practice.
And it helps you to also relate better with doctors.
Not even doctors
and
alone, with other healthcare providers.
Okay.
Because now, when I was in school, I enjoyed ward rounds a lot.
Wow.
Because a doctor will come and talk
from his own
point of view.
Yes.
They will expect that a nurse. I see colleagues that will be running back. No, they are not better off. Say your own. If you are wrong, they will correct you. From there, you learn. That is why you are there. Anything you don't know, that is an opportunity to learn.
That's fantastic.
So I think what Bachelor of Nursing does is it widens your scope of practice.
But they also need to build more into the clinical
aspect.
Because I'm very close to one of your foremost educators in nursing, Professor Ajibade.
Yeah, my dean.
Yes, a very strong medical educator in nursing. Yeah. So I'm sure I'm going to tell him and report you to him that he said that they should please do something because it has to be balanced.
Yes.
That, but I see them in the hospitals.
Yes, my reason for saying that, well, it's better these days.
These days, okay.
Because now we have internship in nursing.
Okay.
Yes, so...
No, somebody said it. I thought it was a lie.
Yes, now we have...
So a whole year or 2 years?
A whole year for clinical experience.
And they get paid?
Yes, they get paid.
Oh, okay.
They get...
So after they graduate or before they graduate?
After they graduate...
From the university?
From the university.
BSc. Then they will now do a year?
A year internship and then go for service, NYSC.
Oh, that's
so
good.
with the internship program, it has really helped.
What looks like the deficit?
The deficiency in their clinical practice, it has really helped. We work with them, so I know what I'm saying.
No, but that's fantastic. Yes, viewers at home, having the privilege of discussing the roles of nurses in healthcare with Mrs. OLAJUMOKE OPALEYE. She is a public health nursing officer, State Hospital, Ede. Now, they said you are a public health nurse. Do you people have specialties like that, like we doctors?
Yes.
And what gave birth to that?
Okay, so nursing has evolved. And like I said the other time, now we have specialties in nursing, like we have in medicine too. We have nurses that works in the theater. We have perioperative nurses. We have nurse anesthetists, depending on your area of interest.
Yeah.
We have orthopedic nurses. We have pediatric nurses. We have intensive care nurses.
So there are schools for this, apart from general nursing. What makes somebody, how does one, in terms of career path, how do I get into some of these specialties?
Okay, so it depends on the school that you attend. If you finish from a school of nursing, you now go for a post-basic training in any of those specialties.
But with the BSc nursing,
if it is BSc nursing, there are some specialties that are incorporated into BNSC training.
And yet you can have a certificate for
it. Like midwifery is a specialty, and public health nursing incorporated into BNSC program.
Okay.
But for others, you will have to go for your post-basic nursing in that.
Programs,
Although Nursing Council is working on it in such a way that instead of going for your post-basic, those specialties will now be at master's level.
I think.
Yes, I think that is how it should be.
So that the BNSC is enriched.
Yes.
In terms of all the specialties.
Yes.
And then when you now get into the master's level, you go into your area of specialty.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's interesting to know that, but you are a public health nursing officer.
Yes,
what's your role? Are you wole or what?
I am not, sir.
Okay.
Public health nursing is a specialty in nursing.
What's your role?
That focuses mainly on preventing illness and diseases in the community. Now, what nursing does is it gives you the privilege to treat a patient and relate with the relatives. But for public health nursing, you work with a large community. Not just one patient, just the family member.
Not even the hospital.
Yes, so what we do is we assess the health behavior in a community. We gather data. We assess the data to discover health risk behavior in those communities. And then having discovered the health risk behaviors, we now assess things that can be done to prevent outbreak of diseases that can result from the risky behaviors in the community.
It means before the wahala starts,
prevention.
You want to go ahead.
Yes.
How do you intervene?
Okay, so when a problem is discovered, we come up with an intervention together with the community members. There's what we call community participation. For example, in a community that we discover that what they practice is open defecation, or that the source of water is bad, it's just a river, they defecate into the river, they wash clothes there. The first thing we do is we move in with the community leaders and tell them the risk that can be involved in practicing such. And then once you tell them that they are open to interventions, okay, so what do you think can be done? What are the things lacking in your community that led to that behavior? Probably there is no source of potable water, there is no source of toilets. So having identified the intervention that they need, then we take it to the level of advocacy. Advocacy with the local government, with the states, with NGO, with federal.
That means you shouldn't be working in the hospital. Maybe you should be working in the community.
Yes.
Is that where your office is?
Work in I work in the infant welfare clinic in my hospital, that focuses with prevention, which has to do with immunization of babies.
Yeah,
to prevent outbreak of diseases, childhood illnesses that can kill under 5 children. So that is where I work.
What's the interface between your role and these Wole people? Sanitary.
Yes, they are sanitary officers.
They are sanitary officers.
Yes.
How do you interface with them?
We work together when it comes to the cleanliness of the community. In the aspect of ensuring the community is clean, potable source of water.
How do they come in?
Hygiene.
What do they do? They enforce.
They enforce. They make sure that the community members, they enforce the law. The law, yeah. Once you tell them these are the things that you need, people now, they will just say, okay, we will not do it again. But something that has been done over and over becomes an habit that is difficult to break. Yeah. So the work of the environmental officer is to make sure that they keep to the law of keeping their communities clean, preventing open defecation, anything that can affect their health.
Yeah, let me digress a little because I'm a psychiatrist. And I'm asking, what is your thought about public mental health? Because you see, we have almost an epidemic of drug abuse in our communities. Young people literally live on chemicals. What do you think as a public, because as a public health nurse, you also will know about the public mental health issue.
Yes, sir.
What's your own opinion about it?
Well,
what do you think we can do?
The problem we have is the problem of legislation. There are things that you see in community that should not be there. All these sachet, alcohol, they sell, you see them in the morning as early as 6 a.m.
So you mean our breweries or whatever shouldn't be allowed to produce them in sachet?
Yes. Maybe if it is not in sachet, maybe if it is not made in sizes that is affordable, those sachets are affordable for them to buy.
Absolutely, because what you're talking about, at a point I was involved in alcohol control policy in Abuja, and then one of the factors we came up with is that these companies should be sanctioned, or should be told rather, that we don't want alcohol in something somebody can just put inside pocket and enter church, or enter mosque, or enter the studio like this. And as soon as I'm done, I say I want to go to the bathroom, and I just cut a PM like that and eat. So I think the fact that is available, that's a very brilliant one. Another one, readily available in such that people can easily abuse it.
Yes.
Apart from that, what can we do?
I think the involvement of family members in care. If you see these people with mental breakdown in community, they live on their own. Nobody cares.
So there's absence of solid
family support for them. If you see them walking around, even if you ask the family members, where is your son? They will tell you has left the house since morning. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what he's doing, what he's consuming, what he has been through. They leave them to care and fend for themselves. So there's no family support. Then poverty too. Poverty is a factor that affects people in the community. They don't go to work. They don't go to school. They are not exposed. The little exposure they have is limited
their local environment.
To their local environment.
Yeah.
And so it is what they see people doing in the environment that they keep. You see children, 5, 6, 7 that smoke cigarettes because that is what they see their teenagers doing. And so the cycle continues.
Yeah.
I think
what can be done? What can we do? Because it's not just children alone. I think as early as 11, 12 years, people have been reported to start smoking marijuana.
Yes.
Especially these hard drugs. What do you think, as a public health nursing officer, what can be done about this?
Health education.
Health education.
We cannot have enough of it. Health education. Talking about the health risk involved and a follow-up. You know, when you educate people, you don't just educate and leave. There are some things that we bring in NGOs to help. Help them with. In my place of work, we also have a clinic. We call it Hope Clinic.
Okay.
Where they take care of people that tested positive to HIV.
HIV, yes.
When you tell them you have to be on drugs for years, throughout your lifetime, you know how difficult that can be. Some, when you give them appointments, they will not come. And you have to do a follow-up care, keep calling, and they will tell you I don't have money for transport. Sometimes you do it from your pocket. Sometimes we call on NGOs, governments to at least empower these people so that they have something.
So your health education, you, apart from opportunities like this, you go to churches?
We go to churches, we go to mosques, we go to communities, we go to schools.
Because some people don't know that abuse of drugs actually causes mental illness.
Yes.
And they just think the other is an attack. That is it the only one that is smoking marijuana? Why is that his own marijuana that is causing mental illness?
Yes, it does.
So I think that's a very wonderful one.
It does.
Yes, concerning the under 5, why are you particular about them? And what have you found concerning them? And what can be done?
Okay, so under 5 children, they are at the stage of their life that they are most vulnerable. Their immunity level is very low. They depend on the parents for practically everything.
Yeah.
It is at that stage that any infection can come in, affect their system, and they die.
Yeah.
And the government has tried in that aspect, making vaccines available for vaccines preventable diseases. And that has been our focus. We try to immunize, ensure that they get vaccinated for diseases that can be prevented with vaccines.
What's the success rate in Osun in terms of vaccination for this under 5?
It has been wonderful. Really? The rate of compliance in Osun has been so
What's responsible
amazing.
For the compliance? Education?
Awareness.
Awareness.
Education.
Stakeholders.
Yes.
And then government has been committed.
Effort too. In fact, there's a new vaccine that has just been launched, and I'm so glad.
What's that vaccine about?
There is this vaccine that prevents human papilloma virus.
Wow.
HPV vaccine. The campaign will start
for mothers or
for children between 9 for girls between 9 and 14 years old.
Wow.
The campaign will start in
and
Osun
that
next
reduces
week.
the risk of
cervical cancer,
later in
oral
life.
cancer, anal cancer.
Wow,
Yes.
that's fantastic. So what's the strategy? Okay, maybe it's still in the cooler.
No, we are starting next week, Monday, in Osun State. So the strategy is the vaccines will be supplied, and then we take it to schools.
Wow.
We take it to churches.
That's fantastic.
It will be available in health centers,
maybe
in
you
state
come
hospitals.
and patronize us here so that you pay. I don't want you to advertise this very wonderful.
The government did not pay me. I just feel.
But of course, this thing you are saying is a very useful information.
Yes,
you need to come here again and talk about this at some. You pay us some money and then you come and tell us about, because the rate at which cancer of the cervix has killed people is amazing. And so if there's now a form of an immunization that our young ladies can have before they get to the age at which they are vulnerable, I think it's a fantastic thing.
Yes, it is.
So let's get to the under 5.
Okay, so what we do basically is we focus on immunization, we focus on their nutrition, and we focus on hygiene.
Okay.
I've talked, the vaccination covers diseases that are preventable by immunization. We talk about diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, whooping cough, poliomyelitis.
Anyway, I'm sure let's have a break. Then we'll come back to and continue this line of discussion, madam. I've had the privilege of speaking with Mrs. OLAJUMOKE OPALEYE, the Public Health Nursing Officer State Hospital, Ede. We're going on a short break and then we'll come back. Thank you and don't go away.
James Ajibolaige was a lawyer who obtained his first degree in classics from Nigeria's premier University of Ibadan. Born September 13, 1930, the orator and the polyglot spoke impeccable English, French, Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba languages. His fine diction placed him among classical orators and public speakers like Cicero, the Roman orator. This attribute earned him the prefix Cicero of Esauke. He authored Kaduna Boy, an autobiography, Detainee's Diary, Constitution, and the People, among 6 other books. Bolaige was a colorful politician, elected governor of Oyo State in 1979 and appointed a federal minister in 1999. He was a pioneer founder of Afenifere, the Yoruba socio-cultural and political group. He invested his political sagacity to propel the group to the height of political leadership and decision-making in the southwest of Nigeria. Bolaige was assassinated on the 23rd December 2001. His murderers are yet to be apprehended till today. Western Spring Television identifies Bolaige as a watershed character in history. Dramatist, playwright, and icon of Yoruba thematic arts, Duro Ladipo was born December 18, 1931 in Osogbo, southwest Nigeria. His clergyman father christened him Timothy. His other names, Duro Dola, Duro Shomo, Duro Rike, reflected his persona and the circumstances that surrounded his birth. The legendary stage actor had in several public fora identified himself as one of the greatest abikus born to die in this world. Family records reveal how he was born and died 13 times. The intertwining names he bore thus lent credence to his spiritism. Duro Ladipo was one of the best-known and world-acclaimed Yoruba dramatists to emerge from post-colonial Africa. His notable works, Obakoso, Obawaja, and Moremi, took him beyond Africa to several parts of the world. By the time Duro Ladipo died on 11 March 1978, the Nigeria's first cultural ambassador had acquired a towering image as an artist whose works adorned the frontage of Trenchard Hall, University of Ibadan. Western Spring Television identifies Duro Ladipo as a major character in history. Hilas Olayinka Herbert Macaulay, politician, nationalist, and journalist, was the first Nigerian to qualify as a civil engineer, surveyor, and architect. Born on November 14, 1864, Herbert Macaulay was the founder of Nigeria's National Democratic Party, the first political party in pre-independent Nigeria. Scholars of Nigeria's political history describe Herbert Macaulay as the intellectual bulldog of 19th century Nigerian nationalist movement, in a deference to his qualities as founder and leader of 2 foremost political parties, Nigeria National Democratic Party (NNDP) and National Council of Nigerian Citizens (NCNC). His matchless versatility in party organization and control kept the British colonialists on their toes in the entire span of his active life. After his death on 7th May 1946, Herbert Macaulay remains a hero of his country, which recognized his anti-colonial struggles. Today, Nigeria's 10 naira coin bears his oval face and trademark moustache. Western Spring Television identifies Herbert Macaulay as a major character in history.
Yes, viewers, you are welcome back after that short break. I have been discussing the roles of nurses in healthcare services with Mrs. OLAJUMOKE OPALEYE, a public health nursing officer at the State Hospital, Ede. You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, we were discussing the issue of the under 5, and then we looked at the issue of fascination, and you let out the cat out of the bag about another kind of a vaccine that will soon come on board, which is very crucial. It's also heartwarming to know that Osun State is strongly compliant when it comes to vaccination. So kudos to everybody that has made this to happen. But we're looking at nutrition under 5. What have you got to say about that?
Okay, so on nutrition, our focus and what we emphasize is breastfeeding.
Yeah.
For babies, at least for the first 6 months of life. Breastfeeding exclusively, which means without giving them any water, without giving concussion or agbo, all that the baby needs for the first 6 months of life is already in the breast milk of the mother. So that is what we preach, that is what we emphasize on. There are so many benefits inherent in breastfeeding exclusively. The first one being that it enhances bonding between mother and child.
Yeah.
Another one is it aids quick recovery after delivery. It helps in involution, that is the returning of the uterus to its place. Breast milk is readily available and cheap. You don't have to be thinking of where to get money to buy formula.
It will help the men to save some money.
Yes, it will help with the finances of the family.
Yes.
It also helps to prevent breast cancer. Mothers that breastfeed have a lower risk of having breast cancer later in life.
Really?
So there are so many benefits in breastfeeding.
And then I think the way it is prepared,
immunity,
immunity, the way it is prepared is clean.
It's clean.
You don't need to go and bet one water somewhere.
It is one
container that is not clean
one
and all
of the
that.
sterile things that you will get. It's breast milk. It doesn't get expired. It doesn't change taste. It is always fresh.
What are your strategies to convince our young mothers who don't want their breast to sag? Because there's this belief that if a woman keeps breastfeeding for 6 months, it's going to distort the architecture of the breast, since it's not only the child that the breast is serving.
Oh, well, whatever what will be, will be.
No matter how.
If it doesn't come down from breastfeeding, it will eventually come down. Nature happens. It will eventually.
So those who do a bit of the cosmetic surgery of making it stand up after several years, invariably to still come down.
Still come down.
So
because as you age, your skin loses its elasticity everywhere. Your neck, your leg, and also the breast. So life happens to breast too. It will come down.
It will come down.
But it is safer to breastfeed your child. It helps to boost their immunity.
And then the bonding part.
Yes.
Because that bonding seems to be a very crucial thing. Because as a psychiatrist, I understand the dynamics of bonding and attachment. Because if a child grows up with that attachment to a particular person, he can grow up and develop a lot of mental health issues. So beyond the fact that it helps in fighting the infection, it also helps to breed a balanced adult.
A
balanced life.
Not a dysfunctional adult later in life.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what are your rules in ensuring that in workplaces, employers of labor also cooperate with our mothers? Because you see, I don't know about maternity leave beyond the government. There are other private. What is your experience, or what message do you have? Because some people, they give birth today, next Monday they must resume.
Yeah, well, we just plead with employers of labor that they should make it easy on mothers. There are so many people that want to do this exclusive breastfeeding, but the excuse has always been I have to go back to work. They can make crèche available at a distance that is not far.
The place of work.
Even if it is not to breastfeed, to check on your babies, to ensure, because when you put your child in the care of another person, your mind will always be there. Are they taking care of my baby well? Are they not overdosing or whatever? So even if it's just to check on the child, it will help the mother to have peace and then concentrate at work. So if a crèche can be made available, if they can also extend the period of their maternity leave, there are some that have just 2 weeks leave. In some states in Nigeria now, we have states that give 6 months maternity leave and 2 weeks paternity leave to the father too.
So that we can also support in this care.
So that you can support too. So I believe we will get to that stage in Osun State too.
Thank you.
That we'll start having paternity leave.
It's been a privilege speaking with you.
Thank you, sir.
And I want to ask on a final note, what do you think we can adopt to strengthen practice, the effectiveness and efficiency of nurses in our hospitals? I'm not even talking of university training, going to read book and all of that. What is your own opinion? And then we round up.
I think interest has to be there. The interest of the person practicing nursing.
Okay.
It's beyond the lucrativeness of the job. You just need to be empathetic and show care.
Yes.
The government, the employers of labor too, they need to motivate workers to be able to give their best. Make the environment of work conducive.
And especially the shortage. I mean, when you see one nurse, about 14 patients,
that shortage,
it can...
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we have a lot of health workers leaving the country. I think there should be a package to encourage the remaining few
people
to continue practicing in
and
this
even
country.
attract some of them that have traveled abroad to come back.
Yes, it's possible. If we have something concrete on ground, let there be equipment to work with. This is 21st century, enough of improvisation at work. Make equipment readily available.
And I'm even thinking that some of our old retired nurses could be plowed back into the system.
Yes, we have some.
To have continuous, some like continuous education.
Yes.
Seminars, continuous training on the job.
We even have some that comes back to practice bedside nursing.
Oh, really?
Some
as
come back as contract staff.
Yeah.
Because of the shortage.
But I would even want that for them to train. You know, there are some of these things they have known.
Yes.
That they can't be.
They can't practice.
Anyway, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, Mrs. OLAJUMOKE OPALEYE, Public Health Nursing Officer, State Hospital Ede.
Thanks
Viewers
for having
at
me,
home,
sir.
this is where we're going to draw the curtain today. Expecting to see you same time next week for this your important program. Thank you. God bless.
Bye.